it almost seemed like she was trying to shame Taylor. And I don't know if that was the editing, but that just made me feel really slimy, because the last thing that I want the jury to think if Taylor does make it to those final 2 chairs is, oh, Taylor got there by like sleeping her way to the end. Like, that just seems like that was what Alyssa was trying to insinuate. And I didn't like that. And I do feel like that's tainted Taylor's image a bit.
Welcome to the Secret Alliance podcast, where we talk about the game of Big Brother with the people who play it. Hannah Chada from BB23 and I are making some BB24 finale weekend predictions. Hannah, tell us all about that reunion of the Cookout Alliance.
Right before the show, maybe like 10 minutes before we went on, we were told like the order of who would speak. So I was like, wow, okay, I have to kick off the whole interview. I can't drop the ball. Otherwise, that's going to ruin the tone of the rest of the segment. But I really enjoyed my question. It was about our loyalty and what kept the 6 of us together, because I got the opportunity to talk about our mission and why that meant so much to each of us. So it was very special that I was asked that question. It was an honor. And, the fact that I got to do it with 5 of my big brothers and sisters, like I don't know if that was evident on stage, like in the extended interview that we did with Julie, but the 6 of us just are family. Like I call Christian, who's Tiffany's son, like my brother. Tiffany's mom, Mama Pat, is just my other mom. Like we're all each other's family. We all belong to each other. So, it was an amazing experience.
And you shared some pictures. We're going to be showing those here of the time off the camera, being back together there and Reunited in Los Angeles, and being back on that studio lot where the house is. I'm sure brings back some memories and emotions.
Oh yeah, it almost felt like an out of body experience. We were like, why does it feel like we were just here yesterday? But then it also feels like we were here a lifetime ago. It was weird, to say the least, but also great. And it brought back like all of the good memories from the house and some of the bad memories from the house. And then we were greeted by a ton of familiar faces. So some of the PAs that worked on the show last summer that I still keep in contact with, or at least like whose names I still remembered. Some of like the execs that we haven't seen since last summer. Sean, of course, was there. Sean is one of the executive producers. Love Sean. It was wild. It was weird. But it was overall a positive. It was a positive night.
Good. And then did you guys have dinner? There were some pictures that looked like at a restaurant.
Yes. Yeah. We, oh my gosh, we had a really jam-packed 3 days together. We got breakfast together every morning. We got dinner together every night. We were working on something special, and I can't announce what it is, but, for fans of the Cookout and even haters of the Cookout, all I have to say is get excited.
I am pumped. Let me just say, I think you need to be there for the Q&A with the jury when we find out whoever walks out. I really do. I think it's so important because, you know, I mean, and we see this a little later in this episode where Brittany says, "Hey, that's a really good question." Well, it's Hannah's. So we're going to get to all of that in just a minute. And you know, I think one of the things that is, not only was the Cookout just game changing and made history, but I think that it was so powerful to witness and to see this happen in television, and to see the show that I'd been a part of really 20 years ago this summer, and to see the growth and the progress and just sort of the hope for the future. And then to see you guys back again, it was great. I also will say this, talking about an alliance that sticks together is so important, because Danielle and I were in alliance on season 3, and we stuck together and we had great success because of that. There are a lot of people who are gone season after season, and they could have been in a really solid thing. They could have kept that alliance they made on day 2, day 7, and somebody gets, some wild hair that I'm going to go with something better or something newer or more shiny. And then their game falls apart. And we saw that over and over, even this season.
Yes, absolutely. Because, well, first of all, you and Danielle created the first secret alliance. So there would be no cookout without Danielle and Jason. Hello.
Come on, that's high praise that I don't think we deserve, but thank you for that, Hannah. That's
No,
very kind. But yeah,
I absolutely think so. I think we took inspiration from you guys, and a lot of alliances have, because most alliances now are meant to be secretive. Now, whether that's actually successful, that's up for debate. And then obviously the cookout would not have existed without Davon and Bailey. It wouldn't have existed without the brigade. We kind of pulled inspiration from a bunch of different players and seasons and power structures. But in an alliance, unless you have something transcendental to the game, or unless you have such a deep, profound connection with someone, I just think that no power structure is going to serve each and every person equally. And the same could very well be said about the cookout. There were certain players that I think knew in the back of their head all season that rolling with the cookout was not the way to go if they wanted to make it to the end. But because because all of us believed in our mission so much, that's what kept us tied together. So that's why I said on Thursday's episode, I see it being very hard to replicate moving forward, because how often in a game like Big Brother do you play for something that's bigger than yourself in the 750K or whatever the grand prize is? So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Well, it doesn't happen typically because the goal of winning Big Brother is not playing for something greater than yourself. It's obviously it's you and you alone, and being that last person standing there at the end. But it was remarkable to witness, and I do think that it showed people watching at home the power of an alliance when everyone is committed to it. And I think that that's something that people should realize in life, because when you come together, each part may be able to do only certain things by themselves. But when you come together as a whole, it's like a family unit, and how much more powerful you are when you are working together, whether it's with your coworkers or in a friendship or in a marriage. And it's like when you have some sort of crack in that and you're divided against each other, then it all falls apart. And it was remarkable to witness what the cookout was able to accomplish, and just kudos to you, Hannah, and the rest of the cookout. And again, it was awesome seeing you Thursday night. And now the big tease that more to come, working on something else. I cannot wait. While we're talking about the cookout, and I teased just a moment ago that Brittany said, "Oh, this is a really good question." It's one that we posed similarly to Michael that you had asked, and you said, about the Kyle going to Michael during the first HOH for Michael with accusations of a Cookout 2.0. And then we asked Brittany, why did you and Michael wait some time to notify the other house guest and the house guest of color? Was it a coincidence that you shared this information with them when you did?
That's a really great question. I want to kind of, mention something around that too. Michael had those initial conversations with Kyle during his first HOH. It wasn't till Taylor's HOH the next week after that I even had the first conversation that seemed to hint at anything like that. And Michael hadn't told me that he had heard those things from Kyle in between that week. So that's one whole week where I didn't know any of it. And Michael had those first sort of conversations, that impacted, I guess, the timing overall. For me personally, I know I wanted to make sure that I had my facts correct. This was kind of an impossible situation. I will tell you, it weighed very heavily on my mind, because the only thing that could even potentially be worse than sharing that information with the house is sharing it if it was misinformation. Say I misheard Kyle or I misunderstood Kyle. I didn't want to spread that information throughout the house unless it was absolutely correct. Of course, then we have Dire Fest thrown in the middle of that, which impacted the timing as well. I just wanted to make sure that I was confident in what I was saying before I brought it to the rest of the house.
What I didn't realize was that Kyle had supposedly had his first conversation with Brittany about a Cookout 2.0 a week after he had his first conversation with Michael. So I can understand a bit better from Brittany's perspective. You're being hit with something that's so heavy and that's so delicate, and you don't you don't want to navigate a situation like this in a way that's unfavorable, that may make yourself or Michael look bad, especially if you don't understand all the facts, in a way that may hurt the other house guests of color. It's very precarious. So that part I do understand. And then a couple days later, the house was split into two. But the thing that I'm still struggling to wrap my head around is that it didn't seem like her and Michael had really touched base about this Cookout 2.0 and Kyle's counter all-white alliance until a week later, when Direfest had come back in and Turner was HOH and Michael had won the veto. So it seemed very likely that Taylor was going to go up. So it would be one thing if they had, continuously been having conversations about it. Like, okay, how do we want to approach this when the other house guests come back? But from what I saw on live feeds, and I could be wrong because live feeds don't show every single conversation that's happening, it didn't seem like they were having those discussions. So I'm still a bit sketched out about the timing of it all. It does seem like Michael and Brittany are sticking to their guns, in the sense that they maintain nothing was opportunistic, nothing was calculated or premeditated, nothing was used for game. They just didn't know. They were ignorant in not knowing when and how to bring that up. That's what they seem to be sticking to. So I don't know what I believe. I don't know, Jason. Why do I feel like I'm playing Big Brother with some of these jury members? But I do look forward to having discussions with them outside of the house, because I honestly have my own questions for them.
Yeah, it is so hard to really figure out what they're saying and reading between the lines. And it does still feel like at times they are giving responses like they're still in the game and in the house. And so that's always tricky as we analyze these questions. A couple other things we talked about: who she blamed for her eviction. I also wanted to know about the opportunity to come clean with Taylor about how she voted that week, and stirred up a lot in the house with that. And, the double eviction where Michael left and he really tried to blow things up with her game. So here's Brittany and all that she had to tell us here on the Secret Alliance podcast.
Oh my gosh, that double eviction. If you couldn't tell by the look on my face, it was probably one of the most stressful moments of my life. I definitely was quite blindsided by the information that Michael was sharing, and just the real-time erosion of so much trust as he made his way out the door. It definitely took me, let's just say it this way. I cried more tears that week after that double eviction than after getting nominated or even making my way out the door here at Final Four. That was nothing compared to just the unexpected nature of Michael kind of throwing our game, because a lot of those moves I made for us, and he was well aware of them, as well as him casting a lot of doubt about saying that, everything I am is a lie, and that includes my career. And that felt very personal to me. That was something I entrusted with him that really didn't have anything to do with my game, but just me as a person. And for him to use that on his way out just was very unexpected. I just really thought he would have kept that promise to me. So yeah, that was a trying time for sure, day 65. I actually got the opportunity to come clean kind of several hours before the eviction, my eviction. It's hard. Taylor's such a good friend, and she's really an amazing, understanding person. And luckily we were able to have a really candid, kind of funny conversation where we were just laughing about these things. Like, she is really understanding. She was able to share with me that she has a final 3 with Turner and Monty. I was able to share with her that, I was that vote that flipped, and she understood where I was in the game and how I really had no one for sure but myself, and I had to win. And that I knew that it was probably a long shot that Turner was going to give that sympathy vote. But I just wanted to kind of shake things up. I was already being targeted. I wanted to shake things up. And I also wanted Monty to have to break the tie. That's the least he could do. So she understood. She also knew that I put her game at risk, and I apologize for that. But at the end of the day, it is going to be so hard for her to get rid of me and in her life. We are going to be lifelong friends. And I know I feel the same way for her, and she feels the same way to me. I definitely blame Monty. Monty is very much responsible for that. And, once Monty decides something, it is set in stone. So, in terms of hard feelings, no, I understand that this is a game. I hope one day Monty and we actually share so much in common. I hope one day I'm talking with him on his podcast, so there's no hard feelings there. Obviously this has been a lifelong dream of mine, so it's always hard to stomach. I would have loved to be sitting those final two chairs. But I understand from his perspective in his game, that was the decision he had to make. I still don't know if it was the right one. I guess time will tell.
In regards to who she blames for her eviction, she obviously said Monty, but it doesn't seem like she's coming from a bitter place. It seems like even in her eviction interview with Julie, she conceded that it was smarter for Monty to keep Turner to lock in his chances of getting taken to final two. So she understood the move. And for that reason, I don't think she's going to be anti-Monty when she walks into Roundtable on Sunday's episode. Let's see, what else stuck out to me about her answers? Oh yeah, with her being super hurt by Michael. Michael's a super fan. As a super fan, you want to try everything you can in the chaos and messiness of a double eviction. You really have nothing to lose at that point. You can't afford to be calculated. You can't afford to sit on information. You just have to throw things out there in hopes that something's going to stick with the 2 or 3 people who are casting their votes. I also went out on a double eviction. There were only 2 people voting. I really said whatever I could to try to get X and Kai to keep me in the game. That didn't work out for me. That didn't work out for Michael. But hey, he tried, and I think he would have eaten himself up alive if because they weren't keeping him regardless. Like if he would have stayed quiet and protected Brittany, they weren't going to keep him. He knew that they probably weren't going to keep him, even if he did go down like a kamikaze pilot. But I think as a super fan, he would have looked back on his double eviction and his exit, and he would have been like, oh, well, if I had just said this one thing, like, would they have kept me in the house? Would I be $750,000 richer? I could have always just repaired my friendship with Brittany after the game. I think we would have been okay, but why did I protect her so much? It's a game. He didn't say anything about her character. So I feel like she's a bit dramatic, but
she was upset about him revealing the job. But I do think overwhelmingly, as she kept saying there, we're going to be friends again. They're going to work through it. And I think Michael is going to say, I had to do anything and everything as a fan of this game. If I was just like, good game, I'm out, he would regret it 100%. And so I think it's you go down and you are fighting all the way to the finish. And that's what he did. And yeah, most everything I think is that we've seen, other than the job discussion, is we knew everything that he said already in the house. The house guests knew these things. He was just trying to remind them.
Exactly. And I think when you exit that house, you just want to feel like, okay, I laid my heart out there. Like I bared my heart on my sleeve and I left it all out on the table. And I think he did. I commend him and his exit was super funny too.
Yeah, I could tell the show loves that. I have just one more thing to say.
Yeah, right.
Cut to the house guests go, what? It was great.
They were so confused.
It was so phenomenal. Okay, so Hannah, here we are. Final 3. We have Turner, Monty, Taylor in the Big Brother house, and we're giving a little bit of a spoiler.
Spoiler warning. Sorry, guys. So the spoiler is that Turner won part 1 of the HOH and Monty won part 2, which means that Monty will be competing against Turner for the final HOH, and Taylor has no shot of winning and taking someone with her to final 2. If Taylor ends up in final 2, she's going to have to be brought there. And I was looking at some statistics from the past couple seasons of the game, and maybe because of like the greater emphasis that players put on comps in like the modern era of Big Brother, but for some reason, the person who wins that final HOH and takes someone else to final two usually ends up winning the game. I have always been Team Taylor. You know this, Jason. Rachel, you know this. I think the whole Big Brother sphere knows.
Everyone knows this. Yeah.
Yes, that I'm a Taylor stan. We all are. But I just don't want to set unrealistic expectations for myself. I don't want to be disappointed. You have to look at the history of this game. I don't think this season's necessarily going to be any different. While Taylor has an excellent story and defied all the odds by outlasting each and every one of her haters, I just don't know if that will be enough to get them to give her $750,000. She's only had one HOH and one veto. There's no way she can bring Monty with her to the end. There's no way she can bring Turner to the end. I think the jury will really see whoever brings Taylor to the end as more respectable, because they were able to bring in someone who was on the outs and keep them close. And they were able to get not only themselves there, but Taylor to the end. Like, that wasn't Taylor's own doing. And if Monty wins the final HOH, that's going to be his third HOH. He's won 2 vetoes, so that's 5 comps this season. That will be, if Turner wins the final HOH and brings someone else with him, I think that'll be his 4th HOH. So that's 4 comp wins in one season. And like I said, Taylor only has 1 HOH and 1 veto. And in the modern era of Big Brother, where comp wins are increasingly given like value in the overall game that you play,
they are weighted, it seems, by the jury.
It does, yeah. And all season we've heard people talk about like, oh, this person came in 2nd place. Oh, this person came in 3rd place. So it just seems like this group of house guests tends to be very like comp driven or comp focused. And I think that that'll be a good case that Monty or Turner would be able to make over Taylor. And the last thing that I want to say, I don't want to be pessimistic. I don't want to be like, Taylor has no shot of winning this game, because she does. I don't think she should count herself out yet, and neither should we. But the thing that really messed things up for me was when Alyssa walked into jury on Thursday's episode and almost implied that the only reason Taylor got to stay over her was because Taylor was up in Monty's HOH room. And we all know that's not the case. Monty and Taylor have had a relationship since week 3 when they formed the Leftovers. Right. Yes, things have gotten more intimate and personal with them as of like the past couple weeks. But that doesn't change the fact that Alyssa and Monty have just never worked together. So why would Monty want to keep you over someone who he knows is pretty much guaranteed to take him to final 2 because she doesn't have anyone else in the house, whereas you would probably take Turner. So instead of saying that, it almost seemed like she was trying to shame Taylor, and I don't know if that was the editing, but that just made me feel really slimy, because the last thing that I want the jury to think if Taylor does make it to those final 2 chairs is, oh, Taylor got there by like sleeping her way to the end. Like, that just seems like that was what Alyssa was trying to insinuate, and I didn't like that. And I do feel like that's tainted Taylor's image a bit, or her perception amongst the jury members, and that's why I'm a bit more pessimistic now about her odds of winning the game.
If Turner is the final HOH, it's over for Taylor's game. Just my thought. I don't see something different happening there in the finale. But I'm still up in the air about what Monty might do. And the reason is something you brought up there, and I hadn't really thought it through, but this group really does focus on comp wins. And Monty might start adding some of that up and remembering some of those things and hearing talk of building the resume, and this person won this many comps. And he may go, in comparison, I look very similar to Turner. Mm-hmm. I win over Taylor when it comes to comps, and starts thinking now, I don't know. So I'm not sure what Monty will do. I sort of thought yesterday when I saw the news of everything as it was happening, that it was like, well, then it's done. It doesn't matter. Taylor is not going to the final 2. But today I'm not so sure. And that's the beauty of this game is Taylor's now had some time where she has to fight for her life. And who knows what kind of wheeling and dealing and negotiating and bringing up really good points where Turner and Monty have to really think through, who do I need to sit next to? This is a $750,000 decision. And, you know, I don't know. Now, if I was going to put some money on it, I think I'd go Monty because I feel like he's the sure bet, but I don't count anything out right now. I don't, I mean, that's one of those things. Expect the unexpected. Julie tells the house guests and the audience, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into Sunday night's episode and expect the unexpected. And you know, we may be surprised.
Bye,
Hannah, thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Check out past seasons of The Secret Alliance. We have interviews with so many Big Brother legends on this channel. Those videos are just waiting for you.